What's up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to NFL Pre-Lock. I'm your host today, TJ Zwarych, ready to take you through the Bears and the Eagles. We should have a fun fantasy game today. We'll see how it looks from a real-life perspective. Both of these teams kind of have a tendency to look real good sometimes and real poor others, but from a fantasy perspective, should be a pretty fun game today. I am TJ Zwarych, joined by Tasteful Tides, Tim Buell. How you doing, Tim?
Yeah, I'm doing well, TJ. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in the thick of it in terms of the sports season. I mean, we've got I got an NBA show later with Dean. I'm working on NHL projections right now. So we've got an amazing NHL slate that locks at 4:00, and we've got an amazing showdown game that starts at 3. So I mean, this is pretty much the pinnacle. This is the peak of the sports season.
You nailed it, and I'm going to be on an NBA show later today as well, playing the role of Kevin Roth. I want to know though, how'd your Thanksgiving slate go? Because personally, I got crushed. Was going on a nice little heater before the Thanksgiving slate, so I was feeling really good going in, and it did not go well for me. I faded Amon-Ra St. Brown, so when he went down, I was thinking like, well, that should probably benefit my lineups, right? I'm playing like 80% Jahmyr Gibbs, and I have no Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is looking like it's going to go well for me. But no Jameson Williams, and it was everybody else other than Jahmyr Gibbs scoring touchdowns in the Lions game. And other than that, things actually went pretty well for me. But the no Jameson Williams and a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs basically was just too much for me to come back from. How'd you do?
Yeah, I did not do very well, at least on DK. Did not have the right pieces. I faded Lamb, which was obviously a huge mistake. I faded Jahmyr Gibbs, and I thought that was going to be plenty good to get me to the cash lines on FanDuel, because he was like 60-70% in like single entry stuff on FanDuel, and I didn't have him, and I thought that was going to be fantastic, but I didn't have Jameson Williams, so that really crushed me. I didn't have him on either site, so that really sank me. So I did not have a very good Thanksgiving slate.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to make it back today. I need it because I was able to brush off the Thanksgiving loss. That's whatever, that happens. Sometimes you're just wrong. But today I was helping get my daughter ready to go to daycare, help get my wife ready for work. And as I'm trying to help my daughter put her jacket on, I did a weird little twist, and now my hip/back is seizing up. I feel like I was just recovering from that like a month or two ago. I don't like how often this is starting to happen to me, Tim. And so I need a win. I need a win today, and I think it might happen in today's Bears versus Eagles game. What's your 30,000-foot view? How do you think this one is going to go, and how are you attacking the slate?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty interesting game. I mean, both teams are 8-3. I still can't really believe that the Bears are 8-3. They just do not seem like that they're that good of a team. I expect them to struggle here on the road in Philadelphia. I'm currently trying to build into Sims and kind of like make some manual adjustments in lineup HQ to kind of get to more Philadelphia onslaught teams. That's kind of like what I'm currently trying to build into right now. That's kind of like what I'm leaning. So it's definitely going to be. I'm because I'm seeing a lot of kind of 3-3 type builds in optimals right now. I'm seeing a lot of that. So I'm trying to get off of that kind of 4-2, 3-3 look and trying to get a little bit contrarian and go and try to get to more 5-1s in my current builds.
I am looking more like most often. I think I'm going to have about a 4-2, but I feel like a lot of people may be going 4-2 on the Eagles side of things, and it's the other way around for me. I'm loading up a lot more on the Bears side of things than I am the Eagles today. But let's start getting into it. Let's talk first about the captain and MVP position. Right now on DraftKings, it's looking like we have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley projecting for over half of the ownership today at the captain position. That's going to, I assume, be even much higher in a single entry setting. Are you looking to go to one of those two guys, or are you looking to go elsewhere?
Yeah, the conversation between Barkley and Hertz is kind of like for optimals. You're definitely getting to a ton of them when you're loaded projections in a lineup HQ. So definitely, it's a conversation between Barkley and Hertz in terms of your quote unquote like cash game captain, your optimal captain. So I'm getting to a bunch of those two in Sims as well. Definitely going to be interesting to see what the field does with Dallas Goedert. That linebacker core for the Bears is really, really banged up. So, this could end up being a really solid game for Dallas Goedert. So, getting to him, the third most behind Barkley and Hurts. So, I think that if you want to get off the more popular captain plays, this is for I'm talking about DK here just for now. If you wanted to get off the more popular Barkley and Hurts captain spots, I think Goddard would be my favorite of those of that group. I think that if you wanted to get really, really contrarian, AJ Brown is somebody that I'm getting to the next most in Sims, and then Roma Dunze. If you wanted to, I think that would be super contrarian. I don't like that as much, but I can see a world where the Eagles kind of dominate this game and then they're forced to throw the ball. And maybe if Roma Dunze can, break a long one, maybe score a touchdown, go, 6 for 80 with a score, he could end up being the optimal captain. So I think Roma Dunze is super interesting, but Barkley and Hurts are your two best, safest captains. But I think that there are interesting ways to get contrarian.
What about on FanDuel? Where do you differ there? Where 77% of the projected ownership at the MVP is going to Hurts and Barkley. I feel like that just makes me want to play Caleb Williams at only 12%, but literally anybody else is going to projecting sub 5% owned at the captain position today. So you can roll out AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, hell, Goddard or Burden, at that super cheap price tag. That might end up being my favorite on FanDuel, where these guys are super highly owned at MVP. Roll out Luther Burden at MVP, hope he catches a long touchdown, and get Hurts, Barkley, Brown, Caleb all in the same lineup.
Yeah, on FanDuel, I'm less likely to get super contrarian because you're so touchdown dependent over on that site. I think it's probably Rome or Caleb if I'm not going to be playing Barkley or Hurts. I think that would be one of those two of the primary Chicago pieces. So I do like that. And even Dallas Goedert is going to be really, really low owned at the MVP on FanDuel. So I think he's somewhat interesting just because I'm very high on him in this game. But really FanDuel, I'm much less likely to kind of get off of some of these guys that have really, really high touchdown equity like Barkley and Hurts.
All right, let's talk about some of the pivots off of these captains. I am getting to so I'm playing 20 entry maxes today, and I'm just basically decided, okay, I'm going to fade. I have one Barkley, and then I'm going to fade Hurts in the captain position. I basically have him in every single lineup as a flex, but fading him at the captain position today. And I'm just rolling out a ton of Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, and then Goddard. Those are my 5 captains that I'm trying to roll with a lot today. Eagles, I see some people in the chat talking about Roma Dunze. I'm going elsewhere today. The Eagles have one good cornerback on the outside, and he's really, really good, and that is Quinyon Mitchell. And so I like going to these other receivers like a DJ Moore or Luther Burden, or to a tight end like Loveland, who's been playing a lot of routes lately outside of Roma Dunze, because I feel like he's probably going to be the one that is quite locked up today. In the flex spot, we talked about there are these group of guys of Goddard, Burden, Loveland. That to me, that's my favorite source of salary savings today. Where are you most likely to go to?
Yeah, those are definitely the three primary options. Did you talk about Burden at captain at all? Are you
Yeah,
playing
Burden
Burden
and
at captain?
captain's actually my highest owned captain, and I like the idea of doing
Yeah,
it on FanDuel too.
yeah. I mean, it is kind of interesting because if you play Burden at captain, you can kind of pay up for all the studs. I'm not really that high on Loveland in the captain spot just because I think that the Eagles can kind of, I don't know, keep his ceiling down because they're pretty good against tight ends. But I don't mind the Burden one. Yeah, so I mean, definitely Burden, Goddard, Loveland. They are definitely the kind of like projection darling kind of value pieces. Uh, Goddard is my favorite. I think this is going to be a really explosive game for him. Granted, he is more expensive than Luther Burden, but Goddard is my favorite out of those three. I think the decision is, do you play Burden and Loveland together? What do you have to do with the rest of that team to get different? I'm not as high on Loveland, I guess, maybe as the rest of the field is. But I definitely do like Luther Burden a ton. On both sites, he's really cheap. He should be very popular in single entry stuff. If you do play cash games for Showdown, I think that he's got to be in your team here. So yeah, I mean, I think the only reason to fade Burden is simply for ownership, and I think you have to be really pay attention to the rest of your team if you're going to be playing Burden. Like right now I have a 5-1 Eagles with just a Burden one off. I'm hoping that might be a kind of a different way of getting to Luther Burden here on DK.
What about this running back situation for Chicago? Because I don't think we have to really touch on the Eagles running backs. Saquon Barkley's great. Play Saquon Barkley. I'm not getting to any of the other ones. I feel like if you land on a Bigsby as a last piece or something, like it's a showdown. Anything can happen, sure. But that's not one of my favorite targets. And so what do you think about these Chicago guys? I'm personally treating Menungai as the lead back and Swift as maybe the guy I want to go to in situations where I think Chicago is going to be down a lot of points and they're going to have to pass a bunch, more of a passing down back, because I think Menungai is RB1 in Chicago.
Yeah, I don't mind that take that if you consider Monangai as the RB1. I kind of, I mean, he might get more rushing attempts, but I think this game script favors DeAndre Swift. That's the only thing. So if we anticipate Chicago to be playing from behind, I like DeAndre Swift's ability to catch the ball much more than Monangai. It's like, yeah, Monangai could absolutely vulture touchdown, like our friend Marty Doneasy said in chat and YouTube chat. Like, absolutely agree. That could definitely happen here. But it doesn't look like, it looks like they're both going to be around the same percentage owned. It doesn't look like you're going to be getting like a huge ownership discount either way, whichever way you go. I'm personally leaning Swift. Neither of them are going to make my single entry team. It's just it's too hard. I think it's too much. They're too risky for me in the contest that I play. But if I had to pick one, I'd be going DeAndre Swift here.
I guess I just don't view it as aggressive of a trailing script. I personally don't think of it as a vulture situation because I think Monangai is the guy. I feel like if it would be Swift, that to me would be more of the vulture. And I don't see this as a scenario where they're going to be playing heavily from behind. When was the last time we saw the Eagles blow anybody out? When was the last time we saw the Eagles beat anybody by more than a touchdown? Sure, they might win, but they win close, slow, grinded out games. And in close, slow, grinded out games, both teams are going to be running. Like the only times we really see people abandon the passing game, abandon the run game is when it's a, 3 touchdown lead, 2-3 score lead. We don't ever see that happen with the Eagles. The Eagles don't ever beat teams by 2-3 touchdowns. They've done that against the Giants. Is there anybody else really they've blown out this year? And so I'm not necessarily thinking I think Chicago wins outright. If I am looking at a spread and I see it 7 points, I would rather the Chicago side. But I think this is probably going to be a pretty close game. And that's why I think Monangai is going to be heavily involved because I don't see Philly outright being ahead more than 3 points, 7 points, 10 points throughout this game.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a reasonable take. I do think that after that Cowboys game, I think the Eagles are going to come in here pretty fired up at home. So it's definitely I personally like the Eagles to cover that spread. But I do agree with you; they do tend to play these kind of slow grind out games. So I mean that's definitely very very valid points.
And for what it's worth, I actually like if I was playing single entry, I'd be fully avoiding them too. I don't think I'd be getting to either of them
Yeah,
in
I
single
mean,
entry.
I mean, single entry, they're super tough click. It's really really tough to play them in single entry. So yeah, we are talking about two different GPP sets here when we're making our analysis. Like you're a 20 max player, I'm a single entry player, so it's a really a different philosophy.
I do, looking at it now, actually have a lot more Manunga than I expected. I didn't actually think I was going to have that much, but I do have them in, I think, pretty close to over half of my lineups in 20 entry max, like about 60% flex Manunga. And then I have Swift in 2 lineups. Didn't mean to be that overweight on Manunga, so I might have to, if we have time before lock, I might adjust a couple things. I did like them better than Swift, but maybe not that much better.
That's a
What
pretty
about some of these?
wide range.
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel about the kickers in this one? I typically like, if there's 2 kickers I usually like avoiding, it's the Detroit kicker and the Philadelphia kicker, because those are 2 teams that are going for it on 4th and short basically 100% of the time. I do really like Cairo Santos in this spot though.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's a pretty clear lean to Cairo Santos here at 4,800. He is going to be a little bit higher owned as well, but I mean, you're absolutely right with this. Like, yeah, Jake Elliott, he's a fantastic kicker, but they're just going to be doing the tush push in so many spots here where they could be kicking field goals, and that is just so maddening when you're playing showdown. So it's I personally hit the exclude button on Jake Elliott. Like people can do what they want with their own thoughts on kickers, but I think Cairo Santos is clearly the better kicker here in this particular matchup. We did get a couple questions about like the wind in chat, and I'm not worrying about that. It seems as if it's going to be dying down throughout the game. That's what Roth most recently wrote in his weather report on RotoGrinders here. So it's I don't know about you, but I'm not concerned about this whole win thing.
I'm not either. I'm not really factoring it into my play at all in this one. I want to switch over to the FanDuel screen, because when we were talking about these receivers, there is one thing I forgot to mention. DJ Moore is only projected for like 10% ish ownership in the flex position on FanDuel. And he's way cheaper relative to the other players on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. He's cheaper than both Swift and Manungai on FanDuel, whereas he is like
He's
2,000, 3,000 more expensive on DK. And so DJ Moore on FanDuel is a player that I would be wanting to target over there. These defenses, speaking of FanDuel, I don't think I get to either defense on that site, where defenses are typically priced a lot more expensive on FanDuel relative to some certain players than they are on DraftKings. Probably not getting to a ton of them there. On DraftKings, they're so cheap, I think it's viable to play a defense. I'm not getting a lot of them though.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not high on the Bears defense at all. I was currently looking at that 5-1 build with the Eagles defense as part of my Eagles onslaught that I was looking to play. So I do think they're okay at 4K playing at home. But really, I very very rarely play defense in single entry stuff. So I that's one of the reasons why I haven't like completely like submitted and finished my team yet, because of that 5-1, I'm kind of looking to pivot off of the Philly defense, because I'm really just not looking to play them today.
Makes sense. I feel very similarly at that spot as well. The best cheap play on both sites is Burden, and Loveland is cheap enough that you can consider him a cheap play. Those are the two sub Goddard that I think we are both most fond of. Burden 1, Loveland 2. Is there anybody other than that though that you'd be looking to punt with? Because I
think Cole Kmet is somebody
I was going to say I have one Cole Kmet lineup.
I think you can play Cole Kmet today. He is 2,400 on DK. I think he's 3,800 on FanDuel. So he is cheap enough on both sites where essentially he just needs to, maybe catch one or two balls, and if he happens to fall into the end zone, like, you are cooking at that price. So I think Cole Kmet is definitely somebody that you can play here. I think he is an interesting pivot off of Loveland. It's not, I don't think it's a horrible play here at this really, really cheap price. Zacchaeus at 3K. I think he is somebody, Dotson at 3,200. I think he could be a part of your player pool as well. Outside of that, like, I'm not getting to any of the backup running backs for the Eagles. So I hit the exclude button on Bigsby and Shipley. None of these $200 guys are in my player pool. So it's really, I think it's Cole Kmet is the cheapest player. Yeah, Cole Kmet was the cheapest player that I put into lineup HQ before I ran teams on the show.
That's how I feel too. Cole Kmet would be the cheapest guy that I'd go to today. No, like 1K plays on FanDuel, $200 plays on DraftKings that I feel overly confident with. Obviously, again, if you're playing a ton of lineups, it's showdown. It's a solo single game. Anything can happen. Anybody can get a touchdown on a trick play, things like that. But not anybody that would be going to with any type of confidence really in this spot outside of Cole Kmet. And then I'm treating him as if I can afford to go up to Burden, if I can afford to go up to Loveland, I'm doing it. I'm not playing any Kmet and just leaving that salary on the table. But I'm not changing any lineups if I land on Kmet and I can't afford those other guys. I like him better than Dotson. I like him better than Shipley and Bigsby and those other guys in that range. Olamide Zacchaeus would rather Kmet than him as well. I think it's time for some plums, Tim. Feel it in the plums play of the day, coined by our guy Chop for these showdown slates, for us to pick a player who we think is going to be breaking the slate. So who do you got as your slate breaker today?
Yeah, so this isn't going to be like a super, super contrarian play, but I think you can play him. I think if you play him at captain, it would get you off of, so it would definitely give you a different type of build, and that's Dallas Goedert for me.
All right, we will start taking some questions here shortly, but before we do, I want to remind you about a 3-day pass you can get here at RotoGrinders. It's a perfect day to do it as well. You can get access to the Friday content, and then we still have our Sunday slate coming up as well. Only $9.99. You can build lineups through the weekend with 50% off on a 3-day pass. So get yourself access to that. Plus, it's Black Friday today. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving yesterday, and you can sign up with a link in the description right down below on YouTube for our Black Friday sale. Users will receive the RotoGrinders Combo Pro plan for the price of a single sport for their first 3 months. That's only $74.99 per month for the first 3 months. After 3 months, it'll renew at the regular price. This is only valid for another 5 days. So get yourself some Combo Pro out on the Black Friday deal, because we got ourselves a really great deal on some Combo Pro right now. Single sport price. Why not get all the sports for the price of one? Let's start taking some questions here. I'll go to the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat first. I'll go to the YouTube chat second. Get your questions in there. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you are hitting that like button. Tim, in a small field GPP, would you rather have Caleb Williams? I don't know. I always call him Caleb Wilson. Who's that? Caleb Williams or Saquon Barkley?
I would just stick with Saquon Barkley.
What are your thoughts on Rome Odunze today?
I really like him today. I think that's a fantastic play. I don't think he's going to be super highly owned either. I think you can play him at captain to get super contrarian, but I think he's a strong play in the flex as well.
I just realized I totally, like, ADHD got the best of me there, and I zoned out while I was prepping for the ad reads. Did you give your plums play? Because I don't think I did.
Dallas Goedert, but you did not. The people need the plums, TJ.
I like the Dallas Goedert call a lot. I like him today as well. Yeah, I was prepping for the ad reads that I realized I didn't actually absorb any of the info that was happening as I was looking for that. And so Dallas Goedert for you. I like that one a lot. For me, I'm going with Luther Burden today. This is a guy that I've been smashing recently. He's getting the targets. He is getting the opportunities. He's running the routes. And I think this is the game that we see him put it all together and have a big day at that cheap price tag. So we got Dallas Goedert, Luther Burden. Get yourself some salary savers in there. And that allows us to spend up on the Jalen Hurts, the A.J. Browns, the Saquon Barkleys, etc. All right. Let's look at some of these QQs here we have building up. And we do have some more questions about the win. And so talk about that a little bit more for those who tuned in late. Is that something you're factoring into your plays at all?
Yeah, it's not. I'll read what Kevin Roth wrote. Winds around 15 miles an hour sustained at kickoff, dropping to around 10 miles an hour sustained late game. Gusts throughout the game should be between 25 and 30. It's really sustained winds that we're most concerned about, and those just are not high enough for me to be concerned with. So I think no matter how you're building your teams today, wind is not going to be a factor for me.
That's how I feel as well. And, it's built into the projections, right? Like no need to double count that. That is something that gets included into these projections while we're going through here. We got Trendy now wants to know, Tim, you playing any Jimmy Graham or you playing any Darren Sproles? I said I'm probably not getting to these guys unless Drew Brees is active too.
No, I'm not getting no.
Steelers season wants to know, is it crazy to prefer Monangai over Dallas Goedert today? I say play both.
I think if anything, you can play both. I think it's a little crazy to prefer Monangai straight up over Goddard, but I mean it's definitely. I mean, you have to take risks, and if that's an angle that you want to play, then go for it. But I really like Goddard today.
Low on the questions. Everybody's still sleepy from their big Thanksgiving meal. If you got any more questions, make sure you get them into the Discord, get them into the YouTube chat. And I do think we'll get out of here a little bit early. Give me a chance to get some of that 70% Monangai out of my lineups. Maybe drop that to about 40%. But Tim, who are you most afraid of being underweight on today?
There's two guys that I'm concerned about, and that's the primary pass catchers for Philly, the primary wide receivers. That's A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I think I'm most concerned about A.J. Brown, but I'm a little bit worried that those two could easily just smash the slate. So I'm a little bit. I guess I'm most concerned about A.J. Brown.
I am getting to a lot of Brown, and so it's the other side of the field for me. It's Adunze and Moore. I would really like Moore on FanDuel, but I'm not playing on FanDuel. I'm playing on DK, so I'm not getting to much of him, not getting to much of Adunze. If those guys go off, it's going to be game over pretty early for me. And so I'd say that from a player perspective. And then if Hurts or Barkley just has like a three rushing touchdown game for one of them, I am kind of going to be screwed as well, because I'm playing a ton of them at the flex, but I'm only playing them at the flex today. I'm rolling out some of these cheaper options at the captain position. DK GPP, who would you rather at captain, Hurts or Barkley?
I think it's Barkley today.
What are your thoughts on utilizing kickers or defense on FanDuel? For me, yay kickers, specifically Santos, nay defenses on FanDuel.
So personally, I excluded both defenses and I excluded Jake Elliott, but I am getting to a ton of Santos, so I don't mind Santos on either side.
Same page on that one for both of us. That looks like it'll do it for questions. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone. Good luck on all your contests. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We will be back on Sunday with our normal cruise, taking you all the way up to lock. So Tim, Dean, Bobby start at 9:30 Eastern time for the People Show. You got the GPP Final Takes crew with myself, and I believe it's Britt this week, taking you all the way up to lock for crunch time. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. On behalf of myself and Tim, we will see you next time. Peace.